Welcome everyone to the Warren Fleet conference call. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. Later, you will have the opportunity to ask questions during the question and answer session. It is now my pleasure to turn the conference over to Joseph. Please go ahead, sir.
All right, thanks. Hello, welcome everybody. We've made it through July. We're into August. Kids are going to be getting back to school. A lot of people I know in my household are very anxious for that. Some people a little less anxious for that. But it's a beautiful day. It's a great day to be in trucking. It's a great day to be in this industry and here at Warren Transport. Today you got myself, Joe Steffen, Director of Operations, and Ben Coffin, Director of Safety. Back from a well-deserved week of hiatus last week. Ben?
Yes. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I blame Kelly Billeback in our driver qualification department. We got shiny new shirts for Employee Appreciation Week, and she commented last week that, you and Joe should wear that and matching on your fleet call, and sure enough, without fail. First week, we are matching, so we're twinsies today. But anyway, welcome everybody to the fleet call. Like Joe said, it is the first of the month in August. July has passed us and pretty successful, a lot of victories, a lot of safety victories in July. But most importantly, I want to celebrate our anniversaries for August for our tenured operators. Nathaniel Norquist, Thomas Kearns, John Zeller, Alton Spooner, you're all celebrating your 1-year anniversary with us. So, great things to come, I'm sure. Stephen Burnett, Hazma Ishkarak, and Greg's, they're celebrating their 2 years. Greg Smith is celebrating his year 3. Darko Stankovic and Brian Doms. Brian Doms was most recently our driver of the month. They're celebrating 4 years. Alberto Hernandez celebrating a 5-year. I can't wait to give him his safety safe driving belt buckle in Laredo upcoming. I'll talk more about that later. And then Donna James and Adam Torrey celebrating their 6 years. And then the drum roll, because this is outstanding. For 48 years, Brian Tisch. 48 years, 1978 he started. And so, I actually had to call him earlier today, and I wanted to nominate him for the Iowa Motor Truck Association Award coming up next month. And just getting to talking to him. And he gave me a couple things that really stuck with me in his career. He basically said he's never in a hurry, right? He always plans. Joe mentions it perfectly. Hustle, but don't hurry. Mm-hmm. Brian sort of, seconded those comments. He's never in a hurry. He's always prepared. He always wants to know where he's going. And then he said something that was pretty outstanding. 48 years, he's had to get towed twice. Mm-hmm. And he's like, his preventive maintenance was the key to getting him out of trouble and saving him money. He's like, I didn't have the shiniest truck, but internally, I had one of the best running trucks out there because I took care of it on my downtime. So I thought that was just really great business sense and why he's been a successful operator with us for 48 years. So Brian, well done. I can't wait to see what kind of awards are in his future. So well deserved. Then we got some birthdays. We got this month, this week we got John Freet, Donald Clausen, John Zeller, Douglas Birkland, Tom Kearns, Siobhan Lewis, and Dempsey Collins. So happy birthday this week, and wish you many, many more. I mentioned July's past us, and we had a really good accident month. Our Lytics coaching events were down. A lot of improvement on there. I'm sure Joe usually has some really good comments on that, so I'll let him do that. But a couple things that we need to work on is the DOT was hot and heavy in July for some reason. I know we had the the Operation Safe Driver Week in July, but we were inspected 40 times, and while we passed 18 of those, 22 of them they found something. And most critical is we had 4 tire violations in the month of July, 17 for the year. So that brings up another talking point. We talk about it all, and on a lot of these fleet calls about tire pressure and making sure you're doing proper pre-trips. Folks, that's the talking point this week, and it's going to be a talking point for a long time until we can reverse this trend. Its majority of it is on our drive tires, inside drives. Yes, these scales have an unfair disadvantage, or we do, because it's not random anymore. They're sensing your PSI a couple miles down the road, and that pre-pass went from green to red because they found an anomaly, and they're going to pull you in, they're going to inspect, and they're going to put you out of service for a tire failure. It's going to cost Warren Transport 30 CSA points an out of service ding. It's going to cost you time and money when, when's the last time we put a gauge to the tire? In all actuality, if the truth all, in all actuality, if the truth all comes out, yes, it was probably a couple days ago. You might have ran something over or something happened and we slowly lost air pressure, but we didn't put a gauge. We didn't catch it in time and we're rolling through a scale house. The last two have been in Tennessee on I-65. I think it's Grimes County. It's literally in the southern middle of the state. So a lot of times we're heading north to delivery. I think one was a carrier load and one was a load out of Laredo. So just, Tennessee is our culprit. We had one in Iowa, one in North Carolina, and the last two have been in Tennessee. One just Monday, yesterday. So let's focus on that. Your fleet managers have the expectation to have the safety topic conversation with you. They're not beating you individually upside the head. They're tasked with we're telling the entire fleet, hey, you haven't had one in a while, but guess what? It could be your turn. So it's not you personally. It's just a safety directive that we want to make sure we get out talking points every week to the entire fleet, not just you as an individual. So appreciate your attention to that. I mentioned the CSA part. Down the road we have brake inspection week. CVSA does a brake inspection week. That's in a few weeks from now. That's the last week of August, the 23rd to the 29th. They're going to be focused on brake-related items on the truck. So again, probably expect an increase of activity later half of August and even into Labor Day weekend in September. Speaking of September, Laredo Safety Banquet, that's going to be on the horizon. That's going to be here before you know it. That is September 19th. All right, that's on a Saturday. For those folks that are new to the call, we have we have two safety banquets a year, one in Laredo and around in the fall sometime. This time it's September 19th, and then we'll do a one in Waterloo, Iowa in December. So the first safety banquet is coming up. We'll have the sign-on sheets online and I think in the mail. So make sure you get signed up. It's a complimentary hotel room. One thing to realize is it's at a different venue now. For you old school folks, it used to be at the Holiday Inn way back when. Now that hotel has been refurbished and renovated to a DoubleTree. So it is going to be at the DoubleTree, not at the Embassy Suites that we've had it at in the previous years. It's going to be at the DoubleTree on Garden Avenue, right off of I-35, further downtown into Laredo. So we'll get that word out as the next 6 or so weeks go by. And then lastly, I just want to finish up with reminder to make sure you do your Q3 safety training. It's CTPAT. It is required. It's contractual. It's in the ICOA. Every year we have to train not only our employees and entire staff here, but every one of our independent contractors has to do that training. I promise it's 5-10 minutes. It's pretty easy. Get on that Luma training. Get it done if you haven't done it. I think we still got about half the fleet to do. And I'd rather do it sooner than have to bug you, in September to get it done. So let's try to get it done in the next couple weeks. That way you're not getting hounded by us. But again, great safety month as far as accidents and your Lytics events for July. Let's just go into August now with, we're doing our proper pre-trips, getting those clean inspections so we can give you some cash for that. And hours of service too. We're little defect or little violations in the hours of service department really add up, and there's excuses obviously for everything of how the day didn't pan out how it was, but those are not recommendations. Those hours of service rules are FMCSA regulations, and you make a mistake today and it's on your hours of service record for the next 7 days. So it's fair game for the DOT to get you a violation that happened 5 days ago. Even a tic-tac one, I think we had one in July where a guy didn't show on duty time for his loading, and the officer called him out on it and gave him a violation for false logs. So that can really ding our record.
We had another one for the bill of lading.
Yes, the bill of lading. Yes, yep. And one that the guy couldn't transfer his E-rods, and those things add up. So we had 3 hours of service violations in the month of July when we went the previous 7 months without anything. So that's a sensitive area too. 1 or 2 violations can really cause your score to go up because they're pretty rare in the industry nowadays with the electronic logs. So I've talked enough. Appreciate the opportunity. I'll turn it back over to Joe. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. That's good. I've only got a couple things. So one, I want to remind you, so Ben mentioned that I was going to talk a little bit about Lytics and our appreciation. So one of the things we're doing is we're drawing 2 names every week. One for 0 points in the last 7 days and the other one for logging in. Just log in and view the events. Be engaged in the program. And so this week, Jeremy Brockert and Jason McBean are the winners of truck washes for logging in and 0 points, respectively. I will owe you truck washes next week, but I don't have them for calling into this call this week. I've really got 3 things. So number one is check-in trailers, check-in paperwork. Customers are going to give information. They might have a numeral wrong. We want to make sure we're getting the correct trailer number. We don't want to pull the wrong trailer because you can be the wrong direction across the country. The big one is paperwork. I've talked about it maybe last week, definitely 2 weeks ago. It is a big thing. We've had a couple different mishaps where the paperwork didn't match the load tender, and we can solve those mishaps, and you can have a much better experience if you call that in right away when you get the bills. Now, granted, if you get it at night, it's probably going to be harder to solve it until the following morning, but we're still call it in when it happens. When we're getting the resolution with the customer is during the daytime. That's when we can get the resolution on that. So make sure check in paperwork, and then once you get your paperwork, you check and make sure it matches your load assignment like it does 99% of the time. Send your macro 4, include any trailer changes on that. The second thing I have is just really more of a note I'm giving to the fleet managers than to you, but just so you understand what they're getting cranked on or yelled at, or however you want to put it about is, planning ahead and making sure that we're getting the information out to you for scheduling, for timing. Way too often we're finding out that there's one little delay, we ran into traffic or we ran out of hours. I can tell you from firsthand experience, customers do not accept traffic unless there's some egregious situation or running out of hours in very many circumstances. So yes, you can run out of hours, but their very simple answer is, why didn't you plan someone who had the hours to do it? And as far as traffic, most of our loads, especially on our over the road division, have enough time built into them that there's usually time that can be made up so that traffic is taken out of the equation. So for your fleet managers, it's planning ahead to make sure that you have a pickup and a delivery that you can make that's not going to tie you up forever, because that's the other thing that I don't want to do. I don't want you or your fleet manager sandbagging and adding extra time into it, because that's going to hurt your pocketbook, saying, well, this might happen, this might happen, this might happen, so I guess we better plan this 2-day trip to be 3. That happens. We hear that. We get that. And those contractors, those drivers, when we allow that to happen, they stay out away from home and families, and they're not getting top settlements, because when you have 3 loads that you turn from a 2-day load into a 3-day load, all of a sudden, even though you're out away from home and family, it's 3 extra days of no extra revenue, because you have that added time in the slush time. Loads aren't all going to line up, so that's the cranking on the dispatchers, is to get ahead of the timing and the appointments and to get you the information so you can be on time and get unloaded. So we don't have delays. We don't have somebody stuck the weekend. That happens. I know it happened this weekend a couple times, and that's a bad thing for you on the road. It's a bad thing for us in our partnership. The final thing I want to talk about is really a thank you. Our speeding violations, Ben talked about Lytics, and speeding violations usually increase during the June, July, August, summer months. It's where, there's, knock on wood, but there's pretty much not snow in the country during those 3 months of the year. You can get into some spots in the hills where you can run into it. You just have a lot higher tendency for speeding, and it's actually down. Now, part of it is probably the cost of fuel right now. There's some contractors probably making a little extra money on fuel by reducing their speed, but still getting the same fuel surcharge, and that has a big impact on your fuel economy. But I appreciate it. I appreciate you being mindful of your speed. Keeping the speed low helps yourself to have more spaces for outs, all the safety things that it helps you with. God forbid somebody else does something stupid, and you're in a position where you're traveling at a higher rate of speed than is legal for the area you're in. All of a sudden you get some culpability for that stupid thing that they did. So maintaining a safe speed, the legal speed, following the speed limit, and saving yourself a few bucks in fuel is much appreciated on our end. And with that, Luke, if you can remind our callers how to register a question, we'll be ready to move on to that section of the program.
Hi, everyone. If you would like to ask a question, please go ahead and press pound 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's pound 1 on your telephone keypad, and you'll be placed in the queue in the order received. First question comes from Damian Hall. Go ahead, please.
Hey guys, how you doing today?
Hey, Davey. Welcome back.
Man, I know I touched on this, I think, one call before, but I've noticed that it happened again, and I can't remember exactly where it was, but, and you probably see it on there, but I was traveling, I think, between 69 and 70 mile an hour, and it was like a 75, 80 mile an hour zone, so it's probably down in the Texas area somewhere, or somewhere in them areas, Kansas, but anyways, I'm traveling down the road, and out of nowhere, traffic starts coming up alongside me, wanting to cut in and everything else. So the camper comes over and then hits his brakes. You see the brakes on the back of his truck or whatever, but you don't see it on the camper. So he's already pulled in a little too close for my liking. So I hit the brakes, because I can't get over to the left and do a lane change because that's not possible. There's cars over there. So I just get on the brakes. Well, then he starts slowing down even more. So then I hit the brakes. So I went from like 70, I think it was, to 64 miles an hour. It didn't give me any points, but why does that thing trigger an event that I have to be coached on when I did what I was supposed to?
So it triggered an event, but it does not require coaching because you did what you're supposed to. The reason it triggers an event is because when there's hard braking, that is could be a contributing factor to a lot of different things. So the camera's automatically going to trigger, say, okay, we're going to record these 12 seconds or 15 seconds, whatever it is. That way that information is available and saved, because otherwise all the data gets wiped after like 5 days or 5 or 6 days, something like that. So that information can be useful if there's a cargo shift or if anything like that happens. We have a hard brake evidence of that, but there's no coaching that's required. I think that if your fleet manager talked to you about it, I think it's more of a conversation. It's not a hey, you need to behave in a different way.
Yep.
No, I didn't get like a conversation like that, but the part that I'm not understanding is like, it wasn't a hard brake. Like I didn't stab the brakes and come to a real hard stop. It was a gradual stop. It just happened to be like on kind of an incline, so it stopped a little bit quicker than it normally does, but it wasn't a forceful stop brake. It was a normal brake.
I don't know the precise number, but there's an ECM percentage, 20%.
Yeah, 20%.
Your
Yep.
ECM reads the brake data, and if it hits 20%, then it triggers.
Yep.
Okay. I was just wondering, because I was like, man, I know I wasn't doing anything dumb. I mean, I was just trying to stay out of that guy's, trailer, trying to keep my space. But I was like, then it put me up on that thing and put a deal up there, and I was like, what the heck did I do wrong?
You did nothing wrong. You did everything right. But yeah, that's the trigger right there. If it's 20%, it saves that video just in case.
Trying to keep all my points down so that way I can get a truck wash.
There you go. You're doing a good job.
Truck now, so it's dirty.
It's good to have you back,
All
Damien.
right, that's all I had.
All right.
Hey, I'm glad to be back.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much. Our next person is Steve Burnett. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's about like the having enough time to make the load, like delivery. I know this morning I was just offered a load that picks up out of Wenatchee, Washington, after I get through my Langley load. That goes to Plano, Texas, but it picks up on Friday, delivers on Monday at 1300. And when I did my recaps, because I'll be working off recaps, it is going to be extremely tight to make it by that 1300, which I already told her that. I dispatched her that.
Well, if you can't make the criteria for the customer, then we have to find out from the customer if what you can do will be acceptable.
Yeah.
And then if it won't be acceptable, then you'll have to haul a different load.
Yeah, that's why I told her that, or she said she's going to work on changing the appointment. But that's why it's important to keep your recaps and calculate ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her that, what I'd have expected on the Sunday to run, and what that would pick me up for hours on Monday to finish the load, and also said that does not calculate any traffic delays.
Right. Well, I'm glad to hear you're getting pre-planned 2-3 days in advance when you're going out there.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we can work out the delivery criteria with the customer in a manner which they'll accept that you can complete. And if they don't, well, then we'll have to get a different load.
Yeah. All right, that's it.
All right. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you very much, and we don't have any other questions.
Well, I appreciate everybody being on the call today. Looking forward to having a safe month. Let's get back to one of those 0 hours of service violations this month. I know you've done it for most of the year, and I think it's a blip last month, but let's make sure it's that way. Make sure you know how to download your electronic record of duty status. I think most of the ELD devices have a sticker on the back to explain that process. Take care of the little things. It was really the little details that that we ended up getting popped for. Obviously, take care of the big things first and foremost. Don't go over hours, but the little ticky tack ones are the ones that are getting us points. And I mean, and I will tell you, when we talk about CSA points for the company and such that, but one of the first things that our recruiters look at, because the CSA points are with the driver. Every carrier is looking at how many CSA points you're bringing them when you're looking at a different carrier. That's one of the first things we look at. So CSA is for real. It's not going anywhere. I'm excited to hear about the new venue in Laredo. I don't know where that is, but we'll have to see if we can figure it out. With that, I wish you a great day. See you next week, everybody.